Alright everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to check out the build that you've just seen in the footage using the Ninjabike Backpack. Just some stuff I want to mention initially. This isn't like the best build in the game. There's actually ways for you to modify this depending on your playstyle, which I'll go into. But if you're just looking for out and out damage, then this build does really strong damage. As you've seen in the footage, you can do 29 million. Actually, you can do more than that. It's a little bit deceiving, I'll be honest with you, because that's only achieved by activating the busy little bee, which gives you that extra 200% weapon damage on 10 stacks. But if you remove that, then you're still looking at about 16.5 to 17 million DPS. So this thing absolutely slaps regardless. And as I said, this is pretty much a DPS build. That's pretty much all this is. You don't get a lot of survivability with this build, and we're going to get into it now. So in terms of what we're running, as you can see, we've got 3-piece strikers here. So the goal of the build here is obviously do as much damage as possible. In terms of how I've worked out the stats, the attributes wise, I've kind of tried to do not 60% crit chance, as you're going to see here. I've got 48% crit chance. I don't actually know what the best crit chance number is. I've seen a lot of people say about 35 to 40% is kind of the best. I've gone with 48% here. My crit damage is 142%. Of course, that could be increased as well. And obviously, if the crit chance is better at like 35 to 40%, then that would go up as a result. So we've got the mask on here. Weapon damage, crit chance. Obviously, because we're running Ninjabike, which is the main thing for this build, which, as you can see with Resourceful, it allows you to fulfill a requirement towards unlocking bonuses from any other gear that you've got on, from gear set or brand set. So, and it can unlock bonuses from multiple sets simultaneously. So we've got 3-piece strikers on, but it does allow us to get that 4-piece. That's 15% weapon handling, 15% rate of fire from 3 pieces, and then of course we get the Striker's Gamble, which once you're at 100 stacks gives you 65% weapon damage. And of course those stacks are lost over time, dependent on whereabouts you are on those stacks. So you lose 1 stack per second between 0 to 50 stacks, 2 stacks per second between 50 and 100 stacks. Now, of course, because we're not able to use the backpack, which is what I used to use on my Strikers build, then because you've got Ninjabike there, then you have to use the chest piece. And of course, the talent here for the chest piece is Press the Advantage, increases the max stacks for Striker's Gamble from 100 to 200, which means that you can do, at maximum, 130% extra damage. But you do lose 3 stacks per second between 100 and 200 stacks. So within 33 seconds, you would have lost all those stacks from 200 down to 100, basically. In terms of the other 2 pieces here, and this is where you can really make some modifications, guys, depending on what you want. But for pure damage, and I have tested this, Petrov, the Contractor's Gloves with the damage to armor, weapon damage, crit damage, and the Fox's Prayers with weapon damage, damage to targets out of camera, and crit hit damage is going to give you the most amount of damage overall. Now, I've tested this with Hunter's Fury, which gives you the 15% SMG damage from 2 pieces, and that's less. I tested it with some Grouper Sombra, giving me the extra 15% crit damage, and that was less. And I also tested it with Sokolov, and of course that was less as well. The Hunter's Fury isn't a lot less. If you wanted to replace, say, Petrov, because if you're going to do it, you're going to just replace the 1 piece, which is the Petrov piece here, because Petrov isn't as strong as Fox's Prayer, so you would only replace the Petrov piece here. Then you'd replace it with Hunter's Fury, and that would only be slightly less, but there is a difference there. Of course, if you're using a shotgun a lot, which actually for this build you kind of do, then it may be worth it, but it's completely up to you. The other thing that I'll mention, guys, is you don't have a lot of survivability with this build, as I said, so you may want to consider doing 2 pieces of Hunter's Fury, which would give you the 3-piece, which gives you that armor on kill, that 20% armor on kill, and also that 100% health on kill. That may be something you want to consider. If, for example, you're running Heroic and you're finding that you're getting downed a lot, then definitely go into that. I found that I've been okay, so I've not needed it. Now, in terms of overall damage, this build, as you've seen from the initial footage, does crazy amount of damage. Strikers is one of the highest, if not the highest, damage dealing build in the game. there is some, again, as I said before, there are some things that you want to consider. Keeping this at 200 stacks is pretty difficult. Most enemies, named enemies, really most enemies are going to be going down way before you get to that 200 stacks. And then you'll have to find other enemies pretty quickly in order to reach that. So you're not always, the chances of you getting to 200 stacks and keeping it there is very, very slim. You're going to find that most of the time you're between 100 and 200. Normally you're going to be around, I would say 150 or so, depending on the activity. If you're in something like Countdown, then yeah, you could probably keep it 150 and above. If you're just doing general missions or open world stuff, then you're going to find you're between 100 200 most of the time. So you're not going to be always hitting 16 17 million DPS, although that is a possibility. And of course, if you're using Busy Little Bee, then it's possible to do over 30 million if you really want to. In terms of skills, running the Banshee Pulse, because as a solo player, the Banshee Pulse is just so good. Plus, it couples up with my ACS 12, which has Flatline. And of course, the Banshee Pulse is a pulse. It gives me that 15% extra damage, which is going to be important because you're going to be using the ACS 12 to build those stacks up in order to use these strikers stacks to the best of your ability. So running the Banshee Pulse, of course, as well, it disorients enemies. It's really good for affecting a whole group of people at once. And as a solo player, when all the NPCs are looking at you, having something like that is going to be really important. And as well, running the shield. I don't like running the shield, to be honest with you guys. It's very rare I use it. But with this build, the way this is built, then I think a shield is pretty important. It can and will probably save you a lot of the time. If you were to run the two-piece Hunter Fury here, then you may want to consider taking off the shield. You might not want to use it. However, you could still use it if you want to. If you enjoy using the shield, then yeah, please do, because it's going to help a lot. Plus, obviously, Ninjabike gives you that one skill tier, which gives you a little bit extra. You get active regeneration. In fact, you get two. You get the active regeneration here. You also get the shield health, and you also get the holster. Sorry, it gives you two tiers because the blue core also adds towards it. So you get the active regeneration, skill, shield health, and holster regeneration. So it's actually pretty strong. Main weapon, and again, I have tested this, guys. The SIG MPX, the one that I'm running here, with close and personal, does the most amount of work that I've been able to find. I tried the Lady Death. Not only is the mag size too small, which means you have to reload a lot more often than I have to use with the SIG MPX, which has a 50 in the mag. It overall just doesn't do as much damage. The Chameleon takes way too long in order to get the stacks up, and also doesn't hit as hard as the SIG MPX. I also tried some other ones as well, and just nothing has come to my SIG MPX with close and personal. I did try this an assault rifle version of this, which I may make another video on, and that's also absolutely beastie. So here's my stats, guys. I said before, crit chance is 48, crit damage is gone. We'll have a quick look at the specialization, which I think you guys have just seen. But I am running the gunner specialization for pretty obvious reasons here. Mainly so I can have the Banshee Pulse, which is very important to this build, as I've explained. The other thing is that you get that rate of fire increase after a kill, that 5% rate of fire increase, which may not sound like a lot, but it does add a little bit. When I've got 978 RPM, it adds an extra 40 to 50 RPM on that, and it's not a huge amount, but it is kind of noticeable, and that's really good. Also, obviously, you get the killing grants 10% armor, which does really help a lot. And as I said before, with if you were to have Hunter's Fury on this build, then you'd have that 20% armor on kill, plus you'd also get this 10%, so you're getting 30% armor on kill. It's actually a ton of extra armor, which again is going to be really important to keeping up your survivability. And also, if you don't want to use that shield, then this is going to help a lot towards that. Plus, and I can't stress this enough, the Riot Foam Grenade is one of the best grenades in the game for a solo player, because you will find often this will save you. It will keep enemies in place. It will allow you to back up and all that sort of stuff, just so long as you're good at doing them. Also, the last thing is this, of course. Every third reload is 50% faster. You're going to be reloading a lot. with this build, because you're going to be, you've got 1,000 RPM. That's going to be increased slightly with the talent on here anyway. What talent is again? The barrage talent. Couldn't remember the name. So you're going to be reloading often. So that third reload is going to be 50% faster, which just means your DPS is going to skyrocket. What would have been 16 million is going to go over 20 million DPS for that particular round. So yeah, overall guys, this build absolutely slams. Is this the best build in the game for a solo player? Probably not. It's not my favourite build as a solo player, because I do like some survivability, and sometimes I feel like the shield isn't quite enough. But I do have to test it a bit more. If you're wanting more survivability, highly recommend you run Hunter's Fury. You can also run some other stuff in the game that's going to give you some armor on kill and all that sort of stuff. That's fine. But for me at the moment, this is the build that I've been running, having the most fun with, and absolutely wrecking enemies in heroic content. And I'd highly recommend you go check it out, because I think you'll find that this is going to be a build that you're going to go to for anything where you want to do DPS. And it's one of the main reasons why you should be doing your best to try and get the Ninjabike, get up that reward track. It's level 90. I think I got there in about 10 hours or so. Get that Ninjabike out and start playing with some builds, because there's some crazy builds going to come out from this Ninjabike. But that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. Until the next one, epic out.